Eric Kelly III at the Donnie Glover Show. Be More News, of course. And as we get ready, we're going to say good morning to each and every one of you. It's always great when we get an opportunity to come before you today and every day. Every morning, the show is a spectacular show. And today, I'm the guest host, Dr. Eric Kelly III. And of course, when we do the show, we do the EK3 takeover as we bring you guests from around the globe. And today's guest is Dr. Madeline Lewis. But before we do that, we want to take you to the Black Business Olympics. The Black Business Olympics, one of the largest business showcases in the history of Black America in the world. We just had the expo last week. It was live. 145 speakers from all over the globe. We had speakers from Singapore, from Africa, from the United States of America, Australia, and many, many more countries. And it was one of those days, one of those weeks where we did 7 weeks of events. On the first day, we did business and empowerment. On the second day, we did advertising, marketing, public relations, and of course, we did sales and marketing. And then on Wednesday, what we did on Wednesday, we had Wednesday was the metaverse. Of course, we had the metaverse guidance to stop by and talk about the metaverse, technical, black multiverse. So check that out as you're looking at doing some things this morning. And then, of course, on Thursday, we had diversity, equity, inclusion. Friday, we had Generation X versus Generation Z. And then on Saturday, we had Black Business and the Culture. And on Sunday, we had Black Business Sundays. And we had businesses to talk about business to get you ready for your week. And with that being said, I like to run a commercial to talk about the Black Business Olympics.
Prepare for what's coming and dominate in economic winter. Stand strong and thrive by showcasing your great products and services globally through the Black Business Network and Black Business Olympics. The Black Business Network has showcased over 2,000 companies with over $7 billion in sales each year. Over 10 million attendees have viewed the rebroadcast each month. Through the Black Business Olympics, unique styles of business training and mentoring are turning students into business owners and entrepreneurial warriors who will dominate in any economy. Gain the ultimate advantage of the Black Business Olympics, 7 days of unbelievable topics and speakers speaking around the globe. Donate your time and experience to provide expertise and scholarships to students worldwide and change the world. Now, more than ever, new insights, tools, strategies, and capabilities are needed. This is your chance for a major presentation to the world. Fill out the form and join the more than 2,000 speakers who have presented to over 200 countries. Join the Black Business Network streaming live into the metaverse, STEM City, Black Multiverse Enterprises, Hulu, Amazon, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Apple, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pod TV, IBM TV, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. Sign up today. Spaces are limited, and we will see you there.
Yes, indeed. And we're back, the Black Business Expo. And first of all, before I get into the show, I want to thank a young man who's doing great work with his network. A lot of times we spend a lot of time saying what we do and how we do things. But I want to thank Donnie Glover. I want to thank Donnie Glover this morning for allowing me to come into your homes, allowing my voice to be heard, because many times, voices are not heard. And it looks like I'm not on screen, Donnie. And of course, I want to go ahead and start this morning as we go live. It's going to be very interesting. I see that my guest is already here, and my guest is Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis. And Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis is a great lady who's been doing great things with women all across the globe. And so as we continue to have a dialogue and a conversation, we're going to be talking about some of the great things that she's been doing here all over the country. You know, the Black Business Olympics, and again, is one of the things that I do. One of the shows that I founded. But again, I was thanking Donnie. Want to thank Donnie Glover for allowing me to come on. It's going to be a great morning as we get ready to talk about this young lady's things that she's done. And with that being said, I'd like to go right into the interview. And first of all, before I get started, Dr. Madeline Lewis, talk a little bit about who is Dr. Madeline Lewis.
Well, first of all, good morning to you, Dr. Kelly, and it's a pleasure to be here on this platform. Thank you for inviting me. Um, well, I'm Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis, and I'm the president and CEO of the Executive Women's Success Institute. And what I do is I help women to get into upper management and executive level positions. And if you're a female veteran, trying to transition out of the military, then into entrepreneurship, then I also help women, military females, do that. But most importantly, I'm a Southern girl. That's where my roots are. Although I live in the Washington metropolitan area, I'm a Southern girl. And I've, of course, been up here since the 90s. So I feel at home, but there's nothing like home going back to New Orleans. that that is my home. But the one thing that I have to say before we also go on is you talked about the Black Business Olympics. And again, phenomenal event. And I just want to thank you, thank you so much for bringing me into that arena and just making me a part of it, making me feel welcome, and just to be able to be on the receiving end of it and hopefully on the giving end of it is such a great honor. So thank you for that.
Well, when you look at today's society, at $1.6 trillion that's in the Black community, we have to begin to look at how we can control that money. You know, many of our kids today look at the entertainment culture as the possibilities of riches, as the possibilities of doing something with themselves. And of course, the Black Business Olympics is a platform and a program that pushes back from the entertainment culture. And what I mean by that is it says, hey, if you're a great athlete, if you're a great singer, you're a dancer, that's not what it's about for us. Is we know that entrepreneurship is undefeated. And when we talk about the Black Wall Streets all over the world, we do notice that those Black Wall Streets were destroyed um, to stop economic growth in our community. You
Yes.
know, the ones in Oklahoma, the ones in New York City, Seneca City, the ones in Durham, North Carolina, the ones in California. And what many people don't understand is that, you know, we were in a segregated society. And when I say segregation, a lot of people would probably, you know, some of the young people would probably say segregation. Yeah, we're in a segregated society, which means that there was black side and a white side. You know, I remember I asked my mother one day, and we was riding in the car. We was headed to Atlanta, and and it just popped in my head. I said, "Mom, how could y'all have went to the black water fountain, the back of the buses, and the black bathrooms, and not being able to go into hotels?" And my mom said it with such ease and such calm. She said, that's just the way it was. And so as we begin to look at 2020 and begin to stand on the shoulders of my grandmother, my great grandfather, um, and the elders that are going on before us, we sometimes miss that whole, you know, what really happened or what really went on, you know. And so what we're doing with kids, with kids is we're saying to them, you know, um, we want to help you to go to school, but we want you to also go and compete. And so we're working on giving laptop computers out and monies out to kids so that they can compete. And you know what's very interesting, Malin, is that when you start on a journey like this, you get a lot of pushback as black folk or as black people, get a lot of pushback when you're doing stuff for your people. And so with that being said, I wanted to, I was asked to be here this morning for Donnie, give him a much needed break, great guy. And when I was asked, I thought about people who was working with the Black Business Olympics, who were doing things in the background, and who were really folk that maybe people don't know, because it's always easy for me to get on and talk for hours and hours about the things that I do, because I work so very hard to do many things to serve people all over the world. But I really am in this to share and to serve people. And I think that's one of the things that's missing. We don't serve anymore. It used to be a time where if something was going on in the community, the grandmama would whip you. Another person in the community would whip you. And then when you got home, your mama would whip you, because everybody was raising a community of people with integrity, people who were going to be something. And as we begin to go up that ladder of progress, and it just seemed like drugs came into our communities to stop that level of progress. And now look at us now. When the grandmothers are 32 years old, it's almost disheartening when you start thinking about what's going on with our community. But one thing that's going on in our community, we have great black women, we have great black men, we have great women like you who are doing great things, and we have great men like Donnie who is doing great things. And Donnie does this every morning. And for those out there who don't really understand why he does it, he wants to give you more news. He wants to give you more information. And one of the things that I find when we have us giving information, a lot of times people don't support us. And when I say support us, I'm not talking about, tuning in and being a part of the stream and listening every morning and getting your feel for the information of the day and the times. I'm talking about money. I'm talking about sending money and advertising with Donnie Glover, advertising with him, because what people don't understand, many times folks say, you don't have the same reach. You don't reach everybody. You don't do everything that NBC, CBS, and the Black Star Network does. You don't do all the things that they do. Well, one of the reasons that we don't do all the things that many people do is because we don't have the money. We do not have the money to buy into these other platforms, to get our information out, to hire people to work with us to ensure that we can do everything that we want to do to serve the community. So, as we move on today, I want people to think about really support. What really is support? Support this show, support this network, support STEM City, but more importantly, support Donnie Morton Glover. And with that being said, I know I've been ranting, I've been raving, but I wanted to get that out of the way before I get into the interview. And for those who don't know, we're interviewing Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis. Dr. Lewis, before I go on and ask you some pointed questions, I got one question that I want to ask you. Many times when we are doing business and we're creating a movement, which you are creating, the question is, why do you do what you do? I can talk about you being a 2-time TEDx speaker. I can talk about you being a 5-time Olympic Black Business Olympics gold medalist. The list can go on and on, but why do you do what you do?
Well, I do what I do because, as you know, I work with women, And I just want to see them succeed. I mean, that makes me happy when I can look around and see that a female that I helped to get where she's trying to go succeed. That's my why. And I also do it because I had individuals that helped me. And so, because of that, that's why I'm where I am. So, why wouldn't I reach back and help other women do the same thing to help them to not face some of the obstacles that I had to face when I was coming through the same things that they're going through right now? That, to me, if you're a female and you don't reach back and help another female, that's a problem. To me, that's a problem. And that's my why. I want to see as many women succeed as I can possibly help. If I can help them to get there, then that's my why. That's why I do it. Yeah.
Well, I'm always asking my five questions, and it's going to go. Who is Dr. Madeline Lewis? Talk a little bit about your background. I understand that you're a sergeant major or major sergeant. I probably got it wrong, but talk about your background.
Well, as I said, I grew up in New Orleans. That's my hometown. How I got into the military is a story in itself. And just to make a long story short, I had a scholarship to go to Tulane University in New Orleans. And my first year on that scholarship, you know how you get to college and you just go wild and you're not, when you're supposed to be in class, you're not in class. So I wound up losing the scholarship.
Wow.
And when I went home and I'm thinking, mom's going to pick up the slack. Well, my mother, when I told her what had happened, she looked at me. She says, you know what? She said, I'm going to give you 6 months to figure out how you're going to get money for college. She said, because you are going. She said, and that's the time that you have. So I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I'm thinking, I'm going to walk in the door and tell her, and mom's going to say, it's going to be okay, baby. Don't worry about it. And now I had to figure it out for myself. So I thought, a friend of mine had gone into the military right after high school, and she used to write to me telling me how much fun she was had. They had stationed her in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, oh wow, I'm gonna join the military, and I'm gonna be assigned to Italy, and we're gonna have fun. Well, let me just say, when I joined the military, the closest I got to Italy or to Spain was when we were headed to Germany, and they had to make a stop in Spain to refuel the plane. That was the closest I got.
That's that's a great story in itself, because it just gives us the level of how we're thinking as young people, because you're thinking, hey, I'm gonna go hang out with my girl, everything's gonna be good. And then you get there.
So good. But trust me, once I got in there, it was not the piece of cake and the fun that she said it was. Now, maybe it was where she was, but the units that I was assigned to were mostly predominantly males. And, I was in civil affairs. I was in an airborne unit, jumping from plane. So sleeping under trucks. I'm thinking, okay, this is not what I signed up for, sleeping in foxholes and everything. So but that was, to be honest with you, being in the military was also a very disciplined. It helped me a lot more with the discipline part of it. I mean, of course, my mom, she disciplined us coming up, but the military gave it a different type of structure. Mm-hmm. And while I was in the military, I was able, before I retired, to reach the rank of sergeant major. And because I was able to get to that rank as a female, I had a lot of females coming to me wanting to know, how are you doing it? What tell me, look at my promotion packet, help me to get to where you're going. And that's what also inspired me to start my business, because, they always say you never know who's watching you. And that's why you always have to present yourself, in a way with, like you talk about integrity, because you and I talk about that a lot. People keeping their word, their character, and different things like that. And so, because you never know who's watching you. And when I started having these females coming to me, wanting to know how I was moving up the ranks. And the same when I was in civilian federal government, the same thing. When I started moving up the ranks, and getting promotions, again, they wanted me to do mock interviews with them, to just go over their promotion packets. And that's what inspired me to start my business, so that I could help more women on a larger scale to be able to do what I did, but not have to face the obstacles again, like I said, that I faced. But growing up and coming into the seriousness of the world, that was a really that was a real shock to me. Like I said, going into the military, and especially the way I did, thinking the thoughts that I had when I first went in. But coming out of the military, I think it really strengthened my resolve. It gave me, when they said, lead, follow, or get out the way, that to me, that's the way it needs to be. You're either going to lead, you're going to follow, or you need to get out the way, but do something, So,
Well, that is awesome. Had a chance to be in New Orleans. You said you grew up in New Orleans. Had a chance to be in New Orleans I think it was about 8, maybe 9 months. I was in New Orleans. I was there right before Katrina hit. And I actually was evacuated that Sunday morning because I think a lot of people, and I'm going to get back to your story, but I wanted to talk a little bit about where you're from. I think a lot of people really miss what happened at Katrina,
yes.
because the month before there was a hurricane coming that the weather service said was going to be the biggest hurricane to hit New Orleans, and many of the people, over 1 million people, left New Orleans. And what people don't know a lot about New Orleans is not really a rich state for the people that live there, not just Black people, white, everybody. It's a tourism place, and it lends on tourism dollar bills, which means that many people are working in the hotels. Many people are service oriented, so it's not a lot of money. And I would remember when that first hurricane was coming, I did not know that New Orleans was sitting in a cup. I did not know.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
I didn't know none of that stuff, right? And so I was working with a comedian. I was working with a comedian at Harrah's. I was the marketing guy a marketing and sales guy at Harrah's. And so he had just got this $1 million deal. He didn't want to lose it, so we was going to ride through the hurricane. And so it didn't hit us, right? And then after it didn't hit us, when Katrina was coming, they started showing what hurricanes did and how devastating it was. And I'm gonna be honest with you, to this day, I was mad with him. I talk about it. I said, man, I could have got killed down there, with a hurricane, because I didn't know the gravity. And it's sort of similar to, you didn't know the gravity of what was going to happen when you got to the military. You're thinking, okay, it's just going to be I was thinking it's going to be just a big rainstorm. We can just sit through it and all of that. And so when Katrina came and Mayor Nagin said that we had to evacuate, and we was leaving, it took us 8 hours to get to Baton Rouge. That's how bad it was. And people don't really realize, how bad it is when you get in a group of people and everybody's trying to leave. You may think that everybody's flying out, but when everybody's trying to leave, it's like a slow walk. There were people on the side of the road selling gas for $8 a gallon.
Tell me about it.
So I know you know all about it because that's where you're from. And I like for people to understand, sometimes you're thinking one thing, but reality could be something altogether different. That's why I wanted you to talk a little bit about, who you were, a little bit about, where you come from, because a lot of times the woman that we see today, the leader that we see today is not the leader you were when you was in high school or when you was in college. And many times we meet people when they get to that role, and we wonder, how did she do it? Why is she who she is? And it really boils down to your integrity, to your resolve, to what you see. Because I'm pretty sure you get this question all the time. How did you become the leader that you are?
Well, I can tell you the leadership part, I credit to my mom because she was always one of, you don't say you can't. You always try it. You don't, if you try it and you don't make it, then that's different. But don't say you can't before you even step out and try something. And also, again, like I said, being in the military, that was another structure for me that taught me different things. And so, and when the different positions that I wound up having in the military and in my civilian life, it put me a lot of times in the forefront of things, where I had to go out and brief large audiences. I mean, believe it or not, I had to brief Eric Holder when he became the new Attorney General. I had to give him a threat briefing on domestic terrorism. And talk about so a challenging thing to have to do, because when they told me I was going to have to do it, then they did a little mock rehearsal. Okay, when you walk in, he's going to sit over here and you're going to be sitting here at the table. Well, that didn't happen. When he came into the room, I don't know if he looked around and saw me sitting there, this little black lady sitting at the table, but he sat right across from me.
Wow.
Yeah. At that point, everything could have went out of my head, but it's like, okay, you gotta, you know that the information you're here to give. And so I had to buckle up and do it, and just talk straight to him. But that's what he did. And those are the type of things that I think brought me to the point where I am, because you can't fold when things change, because you can walk into a room thinking it's going to be one way, and it's going to be a whole different something that's going to happen, and so you have to be prepared. And I think those are the lessons I learned along the way, that things will happen, but you have to learn to adjust to them. You don't say, oh my goodness, this happened, so I can't do this. I could have literally sat there and not been able to speak, because I'm thinking he's going to sit way down there and I can speak to him from a comfortable distance. But no, he sat right across from me, which meant, okay, now you got to come out of your comfort zone, and this is where you show what you're made of. And that's what happens with people a lot of times when things start to get tough. That's when you really find out what they're made of. And so even in the training of the ladies that I've trained, I always tell them, be prepared. Whenever you walk into a room to do anything, if you're standing to do a presentation, be prepared, because somebody's going to challenge you a lot of times. You may get challenged, but don't let that throw you off, because you know that you know that you know. So you make sure that you be prepared.
Well, that is a really interesting story, because, I've known you, I think, almost a year now, and I have watched you sit back in the background and just, you're real meticulous about what you do. You're not too high up, you're not too low. You're always so positive. You're always listening. And I think one of the things that people miss as leaders is, how do you effectively listen? How do you listen to what's going on around you? And I couldn't imagine you sleeping under trucks and in foxholes. I'm gonna be talking junk to you next week, but I couldn't imagine you doing those things. But what happens in our lives, we don't know where we're gonna be. We don't know what we're gonna do. We don't, I say to people a lot of times with the Black Business Olympics, because when I said I was gonna do it, everybody said it couldn't be done. And the first one that I did, I was the anchor and the moderator for 7 days. I remember it like it was yesterday, because I almost lost my voice on Thursday. And none of my friends said it could happen. And then the second one that I did, I couldn't get nobody to do it again. I did it again. And then the third one, I did it a third time. And after the third one, people came on board. They wanted to help. And now our movement is moving forward. But the point of it is, I did television for 20 years. I did radio for 20 years. So I had already had the background to do it. It's just that sometimes people don't realize the things that happen in our background are preparing us for our foreground.
Absolutely.
And that is kind of what has happened to you, because now you're leading a woman's movement that is unparalleled in this country. You're leading a woman a movement, and people always say, well, it's a ministry. Well, it is a ministry because you're changing women's lives. My question to you is, why do women sometimes, and we just want to get into this for a moment, why do women sometimes don't want to help other women?
Well, I think that's because a lot of times women feel like if I help them up and pull, if, say for example, if they're in a higher level position and there's another woman that's trying to get there, they look at it as though if they help that woman, it'll look too much like favoritism, and they don't want to be seen as I'm only focusing on women. Well, you know what I tell them? Focus on the women, because we need more women coming up that ladder. And they also feel like and it is true, when women get into higher level positions, they're usually more scrutinized than their male counterparts. And so they look at all these things that because of that, they don't want to again be seen as they're being biased in just placing women in positions of power. But the thing of it is, and this is what I tell them, look around you. Men don't have that problem. They pull other men up. They could not like each other, but they have the opportunity to pull another man up. They usually do that. Women, not so much. And that's what I tell them. They have to come out of that mindset of not wanting to help other women to, pull other women up. Don't be a crab in a barrel. Don't be that crab in the barrel. Help other women up. Pull them up behind you. And you should have the attitude that you want to see them do better than you do. That's the attitude they should have.
Well, when you talk about that, I'm pretty sure you have to have workshops, because many people come to you, not understanding, first of all, what you're going to do to help them. And then I'm pretty sure you have some resistance from women who they come in, and just like with men and just like with people, you can have resistance, because many times people are thinking that their way that they've done so many years or how they do things is the best way. And so how do people let their guards down when they come to your workshop? What do you do in your workshops that allows women to kind of say, okay, I am going to listen, but more importantly, because listening is half the battle, but I'm going to do.
Right. Well, that is the ultimate goal, to get them to be able to let their guards down and to be completely open. And what I try to do for women is to provide them with a safe space to be able to let their guards down and to be able to talk about and share anything that they're feeling and anything that will help them in their career progression. Because again, a lot of times they need that type of space to be able to open up, because they don't have anyone that will that's there sometimes to listen to them as it relates to what they're trying to do in their career, or maybe even how frustrated they are about the fact that they're not able to get where they're trying to go. So I try to make sure that if there's something they feel they do not want to share, if we're in a group, arrangements can be made so that they can discuss it with me one-on-one, and so, but also to come with a solution that's needed, because I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you some steps that you can take, because I've been there and I've done that. So I can kind of guide you, but I'm not going to tell you what to do. So, but I do want them to feel comfortable coming to me, to be able to talk openly and let me know what it is that they're trying to do. And so basically that's what I do in the workshops, just provide a safe space for them to be able to open up and to release and to tell what it is that they're going through.
Well, you know what I heard in that conversation is not that you're telling women what to do. And I think sometimes we get into conversations and people lean on, oh, you can't tell me what to do. I'm not trying to hear what you're telling me what to do. But what sounds like, and what I understand as being a leader, is that you are sharing with them strategies for them to win, strategies for them to be better,
Mhm.
strategies so that they can complete their life task. I think many
Exactly.
times we can ask the question, why do you exist? But I
Hmm.
exist because I have a life task. I have something that I want to do, something I want to complete while I'm on the planet. And what happens a lot of times when people come in and have conversations, not only do we push back from it, we look at the negative idea of saying to ourselves, you can't tell me what to do. But
Exactly.
if we talk about when you was in the military and you had to jump out that plane,
Hmm.
and had to parachute down to earth, people act like that was just something to do.
Hmm.
But if you don't follow the strategy and the procedure that's given to you, then your life can be in peril. And it's the same way in business. If you don't follow certain strategies and you don't follow certain guidelines, then your business is not going to be successful. And again, those are the kinds of things that I think people don't understand about people like you, you
Hmm.
know. But
Hmm.
before I move any further, I want to ask another question because I don't want anybody to leave this interview with Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis, two-time TEDx speaker. I want you to tell us, how can people find you? How
Okay.
can people get in touch with you? And for those who know me, I do this 2 or 3 times in the interview because we don't know who's showing up. We don't know who's going to be here. We have no clue what woman out there, because that's your audience. Let's be clear. Not to say you don't deal with men, because you're a part of the team that I have. So I
Mhm.
know you're dealing with men also, and you do an awesome job. What is the email, and what is, I don't know if you have a direct line number, or what is the information that people can reach you?
Well, my email is info@exwsi.com. That's info@exwsi.com. And my website is www.exwsi.com. And of course, they can reach me on all the social media sites: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. They can DM me, if they want to go through one of the social media sites. But I am out there on all those platforms. I'm easy to reach, easy to find. Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis. If you put it in, it's gonna pop up everywhere.
Well, that is truly awesome. Thank you for giving that information. So women out there who are looking for strategy to be successful. That's what it is all about this morning. If you're looking for strategies to be successful, call Dr. Madeline, not call her, email Dr.
Email.
Madeline Ann Lewis and go to her website and look her up and see the kind of great things that she's doing. This is not a lady who just showed up. A lot of times and this is no shade, this is just truth. A lot of times we get information about people and they're really not doing the work. You can't find anybody that says that they're doing the work. But with Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis, I can truly say not only does she do the work, she's one of those, like I said, meticulous kind of individual who look at what you're doing, and she wants to make sure that if she's on the team, as she says, she's a team player. Now I got another question for you.
Mhm.
Why are you so enthusiastic about helping women to achieve their greatness?
Well, because like I said earlier, there are not enough women out there doing it. Women need other women that they can see doing things, that they see women in these high positions. They see some women that have made it. And there's some women who think to themselves, well, she had something special, or she had someone helping her, or what have you. But that's not the case. That's not the case. It's if I always think to myself, and I tell women this too who come to me, if I can do it, you can do it. There was nothing that special about me that's not special about you. And so that's why I always push them into their greatness, to let them see that, don't let that little voice in your head that says, what if I'm not good enough? What if I don't have what it takes? Don't let that voice take you out of the game, because you are good enough. You do have what it takes. All you have to do is do the work. I mean, you can't expect it to fall from the sky. You can't expect anyone to do it for you. If you want it, you have to be willing to do the work to get it, because that is how you're going to get it. And that is how you will value it. If you do the work that it takes to get there, that's when you also value it. Because if it's just handed to you, you're not going to value it, for one thing. But you have to take, ownership of what it is that you want and go for it.
When you talk about value, you have a television show that comes on. Would you talk a little bit about when that show comes on, and so that these women and men, because I'm going to go back to that question, because I think sometimes when men and women are having dialogue, and the subject matter is women on women, then sometimes people think you don't deal with men, you just only deal with women. And so what is that television show so that people can go and continue to watch your great work?
Well, I have a show that comes that's I have two. One is on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's called Successful Women, radio and TV show. And I also have another one on the Black Business Network on Friday nights at 7 p.m. Also the Successful Women show. And both shows are the same, and it's geared toward women, to show them. I bring on women and men who can talk about their journey, their success, how they did it, how they made it. And I do that to show women that there are others out there doing what you might want to do, but you might feel like you can't do it. And like I said, yes, you can, because if they did it, you can do it too. There's nothing special about anyone out there that's doing anything that you should think that you can't do it too. And so that's what my show is all about. And I will say now, while we're here, if you have something that you're doing and you feel like you want to share it with other women, then contact me and I will bring you on the show and let you talk about it, because that's what I like to have on my show. Women that are doing it and that's willing to share their gifts and their success and their challenges and everything with other women. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because as we look at the future, as 2023 is right before us, it's right on the horizon, almost here. And, we're going to be looking at next year. I want to kind of get something. In other words, I want to steal me a moment with you and ask you a question so that people can really dig deep and understand what you really are talking about. Because many times when we have a dialogue and we have a conversation, people are, as my great grandfather said, sometimes they don't hear you because they're listening to what they're thinking. And so I want to get everybody off what they're listening to in their heads. And I want you to kind of talk a little bit about, words of wisdom that you give to women who are struggling, being afraid, being invisible, being, a professional. What are some words of wisdom that you can give us this morning that kind of crystallizes, the kind of work that you do with women?
Well, I would say to them that we as women have talents and we have potential. But I always say, who will see them if you don't understand how to speak up and get noticed? That's the one thing you have to do. Don't enter a room and sit in the back. You want to be up front. Make sure to assert yourself and don't shrink back. We have a tendency to shrink back and not, like I said, not speak up. Don't let yourself be interrupted or talked over, or in when you're in a meeting, don't let other people take your ideas. You want to speak up. You want to let people know what you know, and never ever express yourself with uncertainty, because when you express yourself with uncertainty, you undermine your own credibility. And I tell you what, when you're sitting in that room, you want to act as though you own the room. So you sit in the front so that you can be noticed, so that you can speak up. You let them know what you know. And you never ever let anyone else crush your dreams or your ideas. Those would be my words of wisdom to women. Always, always put yourself up front. And I always say, because as women, we are the greatest resource on this planet. So you always want to show up so you can rise up.
Well, when you say show up to rise up, you know my mother loves you to death. She every time you speak about women, she make everybody in the room shut up so that she can get them to rise up. She doesn't shrink back. And many people, when I'm talking and I talk about my mother, I talk about my grandmother, and then I talk about my great grandfather last, and they always wonder, why you always talk about your grandma? Why you always talking about your mother? Because they have instilled in me how to show up. They have
Yeah.
instilled in me how to rise up. And how many books do you have, Dr. Madeline Lewis? We need to get the book also. We need to get the workbook. We need to get, we need to get involved.
Well, I have two books that I wrote personally, and then I have four that I co-authored. Actually, I say four, but I'm also in. I just did another one, and I'm in an anthology. So there's about five. But the two that I wrote myself, one is Women in the Federal Government. And that was a book that I did from research of 20 women in and around the Washington, D.C. area, where I wanted to find out how they got into those high level executive type positions. And when I got the information from interviewing these 20 women, I wrote a book on it, just to lay out some of the things that they did, the obstacles they faced, again, how they got there, how they stayed there. And then the other book is Finding Your Best Inside: How to Persevere and Become the Person You're Meant to Be. And I wrote that book actually more of a release for me after my mom passed, because I needed some kind of way to express myself. And so that's why I wrote that particular book. And then the other, as I said, the other books I co-authored, and they're all, if you, any of the books that you want to take a look at, they're on my website. Again, www.exwsi.com.
Slow down.
www.exwsi.com. And I also say, if you go to my website, download my free 3-part video series on 3 things every woman should do to position herself for executive leadership. Yes.
Well, I had to get it out because, again, many times people see people, they listen to them just a little bit, but they don't hear them. And I think what you've done this morning has been powerful. Not only are you talking the talk, you're walking the walk. And what I have observed over the last year is that you truly are a phenomenal woman. You truly are an impactful woman, and you truly are doing great things. And with that being said, I understand. Congratulations in order. Want to clap my hands. I want to step up. I want to stand up. I want to shout. I understand that you're receiving the Joe Mans Black Wall Street Award in December. Tell us about that.
Wow. Yesterday morning when I woke up, that was the one of the first things I saw in a text. I was notified that I had been selected to receive the Joe Mans Black Wall Street Award. And I have to tell you, Dr. Kelly, I was excited. I wanted to tell somebody because I had no idea I was even being considered for it. And to find that out, I remember the one time that I went to their event and I was sitting there and I was watching these people go up and get this award. I thought to myself, that would really be nice to get that award, and here you go. I'm the recipient of this award. So I was truly honored by that. And I thought about also last year, this time, I was headed to Canada to do my TEDx talk. And it was around the same time that happened to me. So I was truly thankful. This is the time for Thanksgiving. And I'm thankful all year round, but just really made me feel good. And I got to say, too, one of the first people I picked up the phone to call was Dr. Erin Kelly. I wanted to tell you about it, because I was just so excited about it. But it's such a, it's always an honor to be recognized by, the people that know you, the people that have seen your work and know what you do. And so I just can't express how grateful I am for this award. I really am. Yeah.
Well, you've done the work, and I think sometimes people don't understand that. I know my grandmother used to say to me, she used to say, you don't have to brag, you don't have to boast, and she would always say, great people are not walking around saying, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great, I'm great.
Yeah.
She said that great people are just moving around and walking around doing great things. And you have been doing great things. And, when we look at that dash that we have, because we have the born date, we have the death date, but that dash that's in the middle is really the most important part of what we have. And sometimes we just don't realize the impact that we're having on people. We don't realize the impact that we're having on communities. And sometimes we don't realize the impact that we're having on our families. And so with that being said, I want to congratulate you for working with my organization, being a steady and a steadfast personality, because, the number one commodity on the planet is people. And the number one piece to people is personality and what you bring to the table as a great woman doing great things. Want to definitely congratulate you on this award. And I'm honored that I was one of the first or the first person that you called. And I saw you was called. I was in a meeting on yesterday morning. And when I saw it, I actually stepped away from the meeting to call you back. And then, I had a conversation with you about it because I understood the moment. I could have got on the phone and said, oh, great, that's wonderful, great, I'll talk to you later. But I took the time out because I understand what moments are. Just like today, I asked you to come on, to talk about this award, to talk about your life, to talk about the great things that you're doing for people, because the most important part of what we should be doing, and I talk about it a lot, is to serve others. And when many people understand how to serve others, and serving others is not easy, because you have people who will take advantage of you when you are serving. And so you have to discern, are you serving or are you helping? Because if you're helping, you're working for someone. But if you're serving, you're able to look at what the bigger vision is and see what are some of the things that you can do to help the mission or help the journey that you're on. And with that being said, what is a piece of advice that you would give and that you would like to leave the viewers with today?
The one piece of advice that I would leave with the viewers today is that never ever give up on your dreams. And we talked earlier about integrity and character. Always If you say you're going to do something, do it. I mean, because it's easy just to say, I'm not available, I can't do it. But don't say you're going to do it and then don't show up. Because as you all know, my basic motto is show up so you can rise up. So whenever you are in a situation, it's easy just to say no, I'm not available, rather than to say, oh yeah, okay, and then don't show up. So my advice would be always do what you say you're going to do, and never ever give up on yourself, because you are valuable and you are worth it.
Well, that really puts it in a bow. That really ties it up. And I know my great grandfather used to say to me when I was a kid, and when your family members say things to you when you're younger, you remember them the rest of your life. I'm sure your mother said things to you that you still remember today. But
Yes.
he used to say it takes the same amount of time to do something small as it does to do something big. And he would say, so young man, and I almost said my nickname. He'd say, young man, always think big.
Mm-hmm.
He said, because when you think big, you're able to invite and bring more people in to do what you're doing. And you're able to impact more people. And that is what you're doing, because you could just write your books and do your TEDx talks and just be in your small valley of your life. And your dash that's so powerful could just be a small dash. But you have taken the moment to open up your life. And I think many times people don't understand, people who are leaders, they actually are opening up their life to opportunity for other people to be great, or for other people to do better in their lives. And with that being said, it looks like we've run out of time. It's 10 o'clock on the dot. I could talk all day when it comes to Madeline and Lewis. Madeline, before we get out of here with this 1 minute, you see I'm speeding up.
Okay.
How can people get in touch with you one more time?
They can reach me through my email, which is info@exwsi.com. That's info@exwsi.com, or my website, which is www.exwsi.com, and
Well,
all social media sites.
Well, I definitely want to thank you. You listen, you're so good. You got it in before 10:01. So, we want to thank Donnie Glover for allowing us to be here. We want to thank Donnie for giving us the platform this morning. We know that he's out there doing great things, as he's one of the great men on this planet who's looking at how he can serve. And definitely want to thank him for that. Want to thank you all for tuning in. You got Eric Kelly III from the South Side of Durham, North Carolina. And you can reach the Black Business Olympics. You can reach us at www. Black Business Expo USA. Everything's on the USA. And then again, you can go to YouTube, and go on YouTube and type in Black Business Olympics, or you can go to blackbusinessolympics.com. Either way, you can reach us. And for those of you who like to know more and maybe possibly get me to come and do some work with you, you can go to erickelly3rd.com. Oh boy, I tell you, been a great day. Want to thank Donnie. Want to thank Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis for showing up, rising up, showing up to do what she does so very, very well. And again, congratulations on winning the Joe Mann's Black Wall Street Award. I tell you, girl, you keep going. You know what's next, right? You know what's next. You do know what's next, right?
Yeah, what's next? What's next?
The Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, look, we're gonna put it out there in the atmosphere then.
I want to thank all of the everybody that tuned
But
in.
then again, when I grow up, I want to be like you and get the Lifetime Achievement Award from the president too.
Leave me alone. That just happens to be something that I got. while I was doing
Yeah,
something
just
that
a
I
little
was
something
doing.
you got from the president. I understand. Okay, so that's yeah. When I grow up like you, I want to get that little something.
Remember, audience, I didn't bring it up now. So y'all, I didn't know. It's not in the chat. I didn't say would you say no? We're just having a good time because we're great friends. And it's always good when you are recognized. But you know what? I got a red phone. I didn't say I could call his red phone, but I do have a red phone. Again, thank you so very much for being here. And of course, you got on my colors, the red hat. I got on the red tie. It's my favorite color. Thank you so very much. And Donnie, again, thank you for allowing us to have a good time at your expense on your show, which is one of the greatest shows in the history of broadcast of our time. Thank you again. You got Dr. Eric Kelly III saying goodbye until the next time. And remember, without love, there is no happiness. And without happiness, there is no peace of mind. Goodbye until the next time.
Bye bye.